Heyo!
Hi-oh.
Welcome to the Building Men podcast. Become the strongest version of yourself mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Heyo!
Hi-oh.
Welcome to the Building Men podcast. Become the strongest version of yourself mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Did you recognize the little nuances in the introduction there?
No, was there
There
nuances?
was a nuance.
You got to tell me what nuance means first.
Well, I'm gonna let you look that up, but I'm gonna give you what the nuance was, and then you can come up with the definition of it. So
Okay.
typically, I would say, "Welcome to the Building Men podcast." Building Men is geared toward helping you become. This time, I said, "Become the strongest version of yourself." I didn't say helping you become, or is geared toward helping you become.
Geared toward helping you become the strongest version of yourself versus
Become the strongest version of yourself.
building men become. Oh, okay.
Do you notice the nuance there?
I do. I do notice the nuance.
Because the other way was more, it was more passive in nature. So
Yes, it
we're
was.
helping you, we're geared toward helping you become.
So there's two things in there, like the geared and the helping, where the other way you're just becoming. You're
You're
just
becoming the
it's
strongest version of
already
yourself.
happened. It's already
Yes.
done. It's easy.
It's now you just have to follow through with it.
Yeah. Just
Because
do it.
what did I mean by geared toward? Why did I say that?
I don't know because it's not geared. That implies that it's not. It could not. It could go the other way, right? It's just geared towards it. It doesn't actually do it. It doesn't just get you to be the strongest version of yourself. It's geared toward it. But to me, that implies some sense of like you need to. There's other avenues that you can go to get there. Where this way, it's like this is how you do it.
This is how you do it.
You will become the strongest version of yourself through this.
That was more of a passive way to communicate.
I agree.
This is more of a powerful way to communicate.
Yeah, a direct way.
More of a direct communication strategy.
Yeah.
So you stayed over my place last night. I said, listen, I want to come up with another intro thing. Do you think the intros are right? And we're like, I don't know what to say. And then this morning we went through this online course we'll talk about today, and it just hit me. I didn't think about that I was going to say that. I was just like, I'm just going to change it up, and we'll see how it goes.
Did you wait? So you didn't know that you were gonna just come on and
No,
that's pretty wild because we honestly did talk
we
about
talked
that.
about it last
I
night.
had no idea that you were gonna do that, and that was actually a great segue. Look at how professional you are. I can't. You amaze me every time you talk. It's just something else. It's beautiful.
We just got off a Zoom call with a man named Mark England. Mark does a program called Procabulary. He is also, what was the name of the program that he did with the other guy? What was his name? Mike.
I gotta look that up. But yeah, so that was with Mike Bledsoe, which if anyone has listened to Barbell Shrug before, he's the guy's like a fitness guru, but he pairs with with Mike Bledsoe. So Mark England and Mike Bledsoe, they work on breath work, physical, um, and then they work on the vocabulary that you use, like the self-talk you give yourself as you're in the weight room. So like anyone knows in the gym when you're about to do a weight or you're thinking about not going to the gym, what you tell yourself and all that stuff kind of linked up together. So that one, I don't know what the name of that course is, but I'll have to
It
look that
was
up.
in Lifted.
Lifted. Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, that was it.
He has the website domain unpuckered.com. We started talking about unclenching our asshole.
He actually has
He
that.
owns that domain name,
That's
unpuckered.com. When I said talking about, you were talking to me about unclenching my asshole on the podcast. Like,
right.
dude, you got to unclench your asshole. As soon as I said that, you could see it. He
It,
pepped up. This is great. I can't believe you just said unclenching your asshole. This
yeah,
resonated with me on such a deep level. And then we went down a road of like, you gotta let things, go. You gotta be open to accepting, and that
Be loose so you can accept. You can accept all who you would like to invite into your unpuckered asshole. So I don't know.
So we'll have to mark this one as explicit again.
Yeah, I know. We keep doing that. You got to remember about the kids.
We got to think about the kids here.
Yeah.
The conversation with him was so interesting on so many levels. First, he gave us access. We took his course, the um, vocabulary course, and basically it's a 21-day course with a very short 5 to 7 minute video around the language we use, this conflict language that we use when we speak to ourselves about things that happened in the past, things that we're worried about in the present and in the future, and how the language that we use inside of our brain and how that comes out of our mouth in a victim mentality. The way that we're communicated is more in a victim mentality. And the course is around being stronger in the way that you communicate and kind of taking that power back. And so we took this course before speaking to him. We'll take it again. We'll definitely go through the course again. It was so interesting. After taking the course, as we're talking to him, I would say, "Yeah, I think we're going to try to," and I'd be like, "Shit, I can't say that. I'm not thinking I'm going to try. I will do whatever it is that was on my mind. I will do that instead of thinking or maybe or there's so many ways that we're communicating
Probably,
now
yeah.
in a passive way."
Yep. And you start to recognize that so quickly after you start the course. It was so eye-opening how many times in my life that I've said that. I probably am going to try to do this. Well, I'll probably go to the gym later. No, I'm going to the gym. I will be doing this. I can do this. And then you look at it's like the positive self-talk versus the negative self-talk. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't versus I can or I will or I'm going to. And you could see when you say things like that, immediately my posture changes.
Yes.
I feel like I could feel you can almost breathe easier too, because he also talked about breath work a lot as well, which that has a lot to do with your talk, your vocabulary, is how you're breathing when you're speaking. So when you say these positive affirmations or you start to reword your language a little bit, it completely changes how you breathe, how you stand, how you communicate, and you're going to start to feel more confident in yourself, which is in turn going to make these things come true. Even if you start out and you don't believe them, I think just faking it in a sense, or just like being it. I'm just going to be this. Even if it's something, even if I have a little bit of resistance, I'm going to be this person. And I think the more you do that, just like anything else, the more you practice it, the more it's just going to become second nature. It's going to be who you are. That's it. These words are true now.
I became interested in Mark England as I asked the question to Chase Tollison, who will be on the podcast, and Angelo Cisco, who I interviewed recently as well. And I asked them about someone who was a mentor for them, and they both said Mark England. And with Chase Tollison, the way that he said it was, and he has a badass tattoo on his back, and it's in Arabic, and the tattoo in Arabic reads, "With my words I create." And that means abracadabra in Arabic. With my words I create. And there's so much to the language that we're using and also how we're speaking. One thing, as I'm critical of myself watching back the videos of the podcast or listening to the podcast, one thing that I recognized was I had so much to say. I was trying to get it out in such a fast pace to make sure I got all the information out of my brain rather than taking a deep breath, thinking about what I wanted to say, and then say it in a succinct way that made sense rather than just speaking to fill dead space, to fill
Yeah,
the air that needed to be filled.
yeah,
So when you think about with my words I create and then how you're saying the words that you're saying is you have the ability to create the universe with your words.
exactly. You can manifest that because you're believing it and you're becoming that. And you could tell with how you've interviewed too, with how many pauses that you're taking and how many like so you're allowing your person that you're interviewing to elaborate by you not interrupting their thought process. Because if you notice a lot of the guys they are interviewing, they assess what they're going to say before they say it. Where before what I do a lot, a word vomit, right? I just kind of spew it out and just whatever. It's like I'm just vomiting over because I can't. I'm worried that the longer I take, the more it's going to seem like I don't know what I'm saying. But the more I think about it, the more I can construct my sentence clearer and make it make more sense along the way versus just sort of spewing out information. It's something that I've learned just from watching you actually interview them. It made so much sense because I want to immediately respond when someone starts speaking to me and I don't. And I sit there and I'm just like, and I wait. And then usually they'll keep going and they'll just keep. And even sometimes with like the kids, when I'll speak to some of the students, they'll just talk themselves into a hole, right? If I'm like questioning them about something, hey, why did you do this? They'll be like, well, I was trying to do this and Johnny was there, but he said, and he said that, and then I'll just sit there, I'll just wait and be like, well, here's the thing. No, it's not like that. And then they just keep going. I said two words and let them just talk themselves into it. So those pauses, the breathing, the listening too, I think is very crucial. Just being able, because when you're not, just like Mark was talking about, being able to be almost in that moment and listen to what the person's saying. So I'm responding versus thinking about what I'm going to say. What am I going to, how am I going to respond to this? Because like I talk about, I don't want to sound a certain way. So I think, oh man, I got to say this, and this. Like, no, let me just hear what you have to say. And then I can come up with and articulate a well thought out response versus me just trying to sound a certain way, just faking it or just coming out. And usually it doesn't sound anything like I wanted to or what the way that I thought it would in my head when I try and spew it out like that. Son of a bitch. I knew you were gonna do that.
Yeah. Soft talk. I wanted to.
I'm not gonna. You want to do this? We'll just have dead air on this whole fucking podcast. Is this a challenge?
I was wondering how many seconds it was going to take you until you're like, this asshole. I knew he was
Literally,
going to.
halfway through as I'm speaking up, it's like he's not gonna fucking say anything right now. He's gonna sit there.
All right. So, 2 points that you said there that I wanted to bring up. One was soft talk, is how Mark describes it in the vocabulary course. Soft talk is using words like, maybe, I guess, I think, probably, could, and perhaps. And as people are listening, as the audience is listening right now, do a little inventory over the next 24 hours of your life, thinking about how many times you're using like, maybe, I guess, I think, probably, could, perhaps. I've tried to do that over the last, I try to do that. I have done that over the last 24 hours. And as you start to catch yourself with using passive ways of communicating, it's such an eye-opening experience when you start to really think about where is the power in the words that you're using. And if you're giving that power away, either to this vague, nebulous idea, when you're saying, I think, I might, I could,
It's
perhaps,
the onus on the word itself. It's now not yours. You don't own that anymore. So it takes some of the pressure off you because you're like, it puts this word in front of it that allows it to not be for me because you're thinking about it. And it probably is that. And maybe, or whatever the word is, but that's what it does versus it's not mine anymore. It's just this word itself.
it's very, very weak way of
Yes.
communicating that I spent a lot of time communicating in that way. I was down at the beach with Julie this past week and I said, please try to catch me when you hear me say maybe, or I guess, or I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll do that. What should we have for dinner? I don't know. No, I'm done communicating in that fashion moving forward. The second thing that you talked about was filling the space, filling that void as you're thinking, as you're talking to someone, thinking about what you're going to say next as that person is talking. It's really interesting interviewing people on a podcast because I want to lean into the conversation and have a like a well thought out response without not being present. I still need to be present in the moment as they're communicating, knowing that when they're done talking, it's my job now to bring up something new and ask a question or have a poignant comment. So it's definitely a journey that I'm going on, trying to figure out the best way to communicate during an interview on a podcast. But those 2 points you made resonated with me. That idea of that soft talk, really passive talking, where you're not having any kind of power in your communication, and then what you're thinking about as you're waiting for the person to respond.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes it so apparent. It just makes it easier when you have someone put a label on it, because now you put a name to it, and then you could call it that in your head, and you kind of can disassociate from it a little bit versus just thinking that this is just how you talk, this is just who you are. No, it's just a story that you tell yourself. And now we know that we could use soft talk as the word to catch ourselves doing it, and to go back and think about what we're going to say and use those direct quotes. It reminds me of Way of the Superior Man. Why can't I think of the guy who wrote it?
David Dita.
David Dita. He talks about that. So he says, when your woman asks you, where do you want to go to eat? You don't go, wherever you want to go. I don't know. Maybe here. No, she asked you. So you tell her where we're going to eat. She said, where do you want to go eat? Or, what what do you want to do tonight? Or what, I think probably, well, I don't know. No, that's a very weak way of doing it. They asked you, so you tell them. You directly say, this is where I want to go. We're going here. I want to do this. That's a big difference, right? And if they disagree, or they really, and 9 times out of 10, they're probably just going to want to do that with you, because someone wanted you to step up and make a decision. And that's your role to do that at that point, because they put it on you. So you take that and take charge and own that when you say it. I think that that's like that when you said like that it's weak doing the I don't knows or the probablys. That just made me think of that book when I read that, because that was very powerful in that.
As we're talking, even using the words, well, I think we should, even saying that, if you're saying it, that's what you're thinking. So
Mhm.
if you ask me, where should we go tonight? If I'm like, well, I think we should go to Chicky and Pete's. If you ask me, Chicky and Pete's, where should we
Yeah,
go tonight then? Chicky and Pete's.
chicken pizza. You'd be like, shit, we're going to chicken pizza. I wouldn't even question it, but when you said, I think we should, you put 2 words in front of there that took it off of you, and then I would chime in and be like, I
Right. It's a passive way of
want to go
communicating.
to I want to go to Applebee's.
Yeah. We go to Applebee's.
Yeah, fuck you. But that again, it makes it so like, oh, he's indecisive. He doesn't really know what he wants. And excuse me, now I could, and I literally just
Is there a bug flying around in the studio here? What's going on?
ah, all this direct talk. I'm not used to this. I can't. But
This direct talk is making
there's
me anxious.
so much. I don't know. Um, the it makes it seem like I could chime in and put my words in and kind of take over the conversation. Just like if you're talking to me about something, or you're in a business meeting or a business conversation and you say those things, someone's going to assume that you don't really want that, or you're not that passionate about it. Granted, we're using the word chicken and Pete's as a thing, but apply it to anything else in your life. Apply it to your relationship, to your job, to your family, to what you want, to asking for a raise. It's the same exact concept. All those words there.
And if you don't believe in your words and what is behind those words, how is anyone else going to believe in what you're talking about unless you're believing it first?
Mhm.
To me, this is such an interesting conversation because it's with the words. And I've always been so tuned into the nonverbal communication that's happening and then the paraverbal communication. I've spoken about it many times on the podcast, how we're saying the words that we're saying, the tone, the volume, and the cadence, and then what we're doing when we're saying what we're saying, the posture, the body language, the facial expressions. Just recently, after going through this course, I want to be so much more like attuned to the actual words and the power behind those words, because I feel like my words have been passive for such a long period of time that won't be the case moving forward. My
Mhm.
words will have more, they will be more direct in nature, they will be stronger in nature, they will communicate exactly what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking in a very precise way, where you won't leave the conversation not understanding what my intentions were and how I feel about something. And I won't need to say I feel or I think. You will know it based on how I'm communicating. So
Yeah.
it's been such an eye-opening experience for me, thinking about how we use the words that we use, the with my words I create, the what abracadabra actually the literal translation from Arabic.
Yeah, and that I love that word, by the way. Now it's like it's awesome. Like when I heard that, I was like, oh shit! And I remember hearing about that. I forget from who, but before you told me that, I remembered that you know you just assume you link it up with magic. You're like, oh, it just means magic. You just picture a card trick. It's like no, you use your words to create something, to create whatever you want, to manifest what you want. But like you were talking about before, the the being able to read body language is very important. But if your goal is to communicate and to help and to contribute, then your words play such a big role in that. How you communicate with people and gaining that trust by how you communicate it. And again, that has to go with your posture and how you're standing and what you're doing. But your words are so important, and them trusting you and them care, like knowing that you care. They're not going to give it. They're not going to care what you know until they know that you care, right? So they just, it doesn't make a difference as long as they want to feel connected to you in a certain way, and how you present yourself. They want to know that this person is confident, that they're concise in how they're saying what they're trying to project to you, or what they're trying to give back to you, or what the meaning of it is. And if you are hesitating at all, then they're not going to believe you. They're not going to trust you. They're going to lose that trust. They're going to be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You could hear it in his voice when he's speaking. He doesn't sound passionate. He doesn't sound like he knows what he's talking about. So it's so important to have that in your vocabulary, in your words, and in your posture and all that.
So when the true strength in what we're communicating is being cognizant of how we are presenting ourselves visually, the nonverbal communication, how we're saying the words that we're saying, the strength in our words. I could say, I will do that tomorrow. Or I could say, I will do that tomorrow. It's the way that I'm communicating, the tone, the volume, and the cadence will communicate something different. Yeah, like, all right, you got it, bro. I believe,
Right.
yeah, bro. Daddy, bro, I believe
Yeah,
you.
yeah, right.
So it's all of those things wrapped in together. I was not as cognizant of the actual words. I downplayed them a lot because I figured I know a lot about nonverbal and paraverbal communication. The words are the words. They don't. No, the words are so important. The way that you're thinking about those words. I also wanted to talk to you about the idea of breath work. So Mark, as part of it, he talked about just the idea of deep breathing, and I know that's something that you are a student of. Is making sure that you're it's not a shallow breath that you're using. It's like a deep cleansing breath that you're using. And as you're thinking about what you want to say next, it's okay to take a deep breath, breathe into your stomach, into your belly, and then exhale and think about, okay, what am I going to communicate next, rather than the shallow breathing, try and be like, okay, Anthony just said something, I got to say something back, and then I got to wait for him to talk, and then I got to say something back. It's a really like jittery, you know, way to communicate.
The first thing to go is your breath when you're nervous or when you're scared in a certain situation or you're fearful. Um, and I don't think it's okay to breathe. I think you have to do that. If you want to have a successful conversation with someone and get your point across, you have to be taking deep breaths as you're speaking with them. Because you can think it literally calms you down immediately. And when you're not breathing, just if everyone could think about a situation, or the next time you're in a situation that you're scared or you feel nervous or you're anxious or you're having a conversation that feels uncomfortable, focus on your body and focus on your breathing and feel where it's at, because I guarantee you're not doing this deep belly breath, and you're not taking breaths in between your thoughts or in between you speaking. And most people, at least for myself, it's in my neck, it's in my chest. The last place it is in my diaphragm. It's not low in my stomach, where there you'll feel more grounded. You'll feel more connected to the earth. You'll feel more centered. You'll feel more like you are in control, versus the breath being up in your head, almost like you're going to pass out, and you're up here and my shoulders feel like this, and I'm holding my breath and I'm just trying to get out of the conversation so much. And then I have to take a breath and then I try and get it out more. And you're not clearly explaining yourself like you should. And there's so many different breath like techniques that you can do. And I think the most important thing is working on your breath when you're not in that situation, so that when you are in that situation, and then just noticing your breath when you're in that situation, because the awareness part is the biggest part, and then you can start to apply it. The more that you do it, the more often that you put it into play.
The trick is to be aware of it,
Hmm.
to be a student of how you're saying what you're saying and what you're doing when you're saying what you're saying, to understand it. We want to be the best communicators we possibly can be. And I think there's so many break situations or relationships, not necessarily romantic relationships, but any relationship can break down because of a lack of communication or poor communication. And I don't think anybody goes into a situation thinking I'm a horrible communicator. But there's a lot of people out there that are horrible communicators. So it's being aware of the way that you're communicating. How are you coming across to the other people with your words, with your actions, and the way that the words sound and feel to the other people as they're listening to you communicating. So it's being a student of that. And then being a student of, are you giving your power away with the words that you're saying? Are you putting blame on other people and situations for hardships or for bad decisions or for anxious moments, that things that you're thinking about in the future? Are you giving power away, or are you owning your role and your what you're bringing into that situation?
Yeah.
So is it going to be based on you and the language that you're using, or are you going to say, oh, my boss was such an asshole, he didn't treat me well, he didn't believe in me, and that's why I didn't get the promotion? You're giving away all that power to someone else. So it's rewiring our brains to understand what do we own in situations, and how can we communicate that in a way that we are in control of our destinies rather than someone else being in control, or past events being in control.
And especially how you feel, like you own everything. You own all of that. Like you don't, no one can ever make you feel anything ever. There's not one point in your life where someone can make you feel something. You allowed them to make you feel that. Your thoughts around that made you feel that. And usually it's just a reflection on what you think about yourself when that happens. This person just brought that up inside of you. It's not like they did it to you, because if you were confident, you wouldn't give a crap. If they didn't get the if you didn't get the promotion, then that's because you either didn't directly communicate yourself, you were passive in that moment, or that person doesn't see your value and you're not at the right job, right? It's not that they're an asshole or they're a bad person, or it comes down to you, and you needing to either find a new job somewhere and getting out of that situation because they don't understand what you have to offer, or you didn't clearly explain yourself of why you deserve this, or you haven't done enough to deserve it. Maybe you just haven't been working hard enough and that's why you didn't get it. But it's never that boss is an asshole. It's never that. If everyone pointed at themselves and didn't give away that power, then the world would be a lot better place, because we wouldn't be pointing fingers at all this stuff and giving away our freedom to that we have the autonomy to get to where we want to get to do the things that we want to do, because no one can control that in our lives. They can't make us feel anything, they can't make us do anything. We are in control of ourselves.
Indeed, we are, my friend. I
Indeed.
I
That was my thought.
I want to look up the exact definition for the word nuance. So the
Oh, wait,
actual
can I explain it? Wait, let me see
yeah,
if I
yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah. I want to hear what your definition is. That's great. I should have allowed space for that.
Yeah, you should have. So take a breath and let me
I'm
explain.
gonna breathe through my where what am I breathing through, my asshole? No, my
Your
belly.
balls. Yeah, yeah, your belly, whatever. All right. So a nuance, I would say the small differences between, I don't want to say things, between two different, like, moments. No, not moments. The differences, the slight differences in, I want to say nuance in this definition. It's like the nuances between the act of nuancing. Can I say that? I don't fucking know. I'm
Oh,
trying.
you were on the journey. So nuance is a noun. It's a subtle difference in meaning, expression, or sound.
Meaning, subtle difference in meaning, expression, or sound. Nice. I like that.
So there was a nuance in the definition, in your definition, and the actual definition.
Exactly. There was a nuance. There was a slight nuance between those two definitions. I
Correct.
would say slight. I would just say nuance. There was nuance. There was nuances, or there was a nuance between.
Have we been nuancing?
I've been.
We nuanced
I
today.
got. I got to take a nuance after this. Uh,
All right, so what we're gonna try to do with the Building Men podcast as the brothers are on together is we're gonna try to cut down the amount of time to make them more consumable. As people are, driving to and from work, you're walking the dog, you're taking a long deuce, whatever it is. We want to be able to for people to consume it in a short amount of time. So we're gonna try to stick to about a half hour when we're on together doing these brotherhood podcasts. And do you have anything that you want to share with the audience about life, about love, about happiness, about anything?
self love first. Self love.
Self love first.
Love yourself.
So for those of you that are listening, Anthony just popped out his shirt and it says self love, and that is a rose on your shirt.
That's a rose because roses are lovely. I'm sure there's another deeper meaning behind it,
Right.
but I don't
There's a
know.
nuance. There's a nuance meaning there.
There's a nuance in there somewhere.
So to find us on Building Men on Instagram is building.men, Building Men podcast on Facebook. You can email us buildingmencoach@gmail.com. Also now, something new as of today, you can book a free discovery call with the founders of Building Men, myself and my brother Anthony. If you have something that you're interested in working on, if there's an area in your life you need help with, you can book a free strategy call. It's a 15-minute call, and that's on Calendly, and the links are in Linktree, and we'll also put them in the show notes here, just to book a free strategy call and maybe ask for our advice, our help, and we can see if we can work together in the future. So you can also do that.
It's exciting.
It is. That's just an exciting thing. I wanted to also shout out to Austin Linney, who I had a meeting with this morning. He was like, "Listen, bro, you gotta do that. You gotta have a call to action. So reach out to us in that way, and follow along with the Building Men journey. We have a lot of exciting guests coming up in the near future. A lot of exciting things happening. We'll be in the studio on July 1st, recording there. Good stuff. A lot of good stuff on the way.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, we're doing it. We're making it happen.
It has happened. We're just time is catching up, right?
That's right. It's already done. Already done.
With our words, we have created today, brother.
369. Yep, we have abracadabra, motherfucker.
All right, you want to take us out?
Uh, Thank you for joining the Building Men podcast. My name is Anthony Maralda, followed by my brother Dennis Maralda. Uh, get better every day. 1% better, and abracadabra.
We'll see you next time on Building Men.
Was that all?
That's what I was looking for.
I'm
No,
sorry.
it's great. I'm still recording, so you want to.
I I don't want to keep. I'm going in circles here.